Good morning. I am back in the kitchen, and I think it's just a touch after 11 o'clock now. I have been doing some prep work for the food off camera, but it's time to get going, bring you guys into the kitchen, and let me show you the rest of the food that we are going to have for tonight. So the first thing we're going to start with is the desserts, actually. So because one of them's cookies, and so I want to go ahead and get those baked and done and get the oven turned off, because a lot of this food is not going to be cooked until this evening as we get a little bit closer to our friends arriving. And so I just want to get as much put together as possible, as much made as possible, so that way tonight it goes smoothly and then I can enjoy our company with our friends. So let's go ahead, and we're going to do peanut butter blossoms. Now I know a lot of times a lot of people make that for a Christmas cookie. I just happen to have Hershey Kisses left over from Christmas, and so I thought it'd be a good way to use up what I've got so I don't have to really buy anything else for it. So we're going to go ahead and get that put together. Okay, so I'm going to do make the peanut butter cookie dough first, and I'm going to do a little bit of a twist on this. I am actually going to be making gluten-free peanut butter cookies. Now, before you stop the video, not interested, just hear me out. So we have a daughter that has celiacs and then one who cannot eat dairy. It's not really an allergy, more of a sensitivity, and it's just easier for her to not eat dairy. So these cookies are gluten-free, dairy-free, and they are phenomenal. Now, I am not one who really likes things that are gluten-free. A lot of times they can just be really quite not pleasant, I should say, but these are wonderful. They'd actually take you by surprise. We've made them before for people who didn't even realize that they were gluten-free, dairy-free, and couldn't tell the difference. And I know a lot of people say that, but I'm not kidding. I don't make things that I don't like. I never have, and I never will. If it's not something that I don't eat, you're not gonna see me ever make it on this channel at all, ever. You can ask anybody that knows me, I will not do it. So to my bowl, I'm going to add 1 cup of peanut butter. I'm also going to be adding in half a cup of brown sugar, and it's going to be a half a cup of granulated sugar. And so I know that that is going to seem like a lot, but just bear with me. What the sugar does is it helps to bind everything together, along with the egg that we're going to add as well into it. But I'm going to give it a quick stir just to kind of get some of it incorporated. It doesn't have to be mixed all the way just yet, but just enough to kind of get it together. So let me grab that egg real quick. What I have altered the recipe just a touch from the original. I actually add in vanilla extract to this as well. So I will make sure to note that below, but I will put the link to the original recipe. But you're also going to, sorry, so it's probably making a ton of noise, add in the 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then I add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I feel like it just helps the flavor a bit more. But like I said, these are really good. They are tender. They are very flavorful, and you would not know that these did not have flour in them. And again, this way, both of my girls can eat them tonight. Now, the one that can't have dairy, I won't be putting the Hershey Kisses on there. I will just make them like a regular peanut butter cookie, and then she can enjoy them. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and get it all mixed up. You can do this by hand. That's the other great thing, is you do not need a stand mixer or even a hand mixer to get this put together. And that is it. We are already put together. So this is the dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my cookie sheet, and I am going to go ahead and get some sugar to roll these in. So let me get a few more things put together, and then I will be right back to show you how I do them. Okay, so I've got my sugar, I've got my cookie sheet, my hands are clean, but I'm going to go ahead and start to roll. You're going to do this just like a traditional peanut butter cookie. You're just going to roll them to the size that you want. And what I'm going to do first is I'll just roll a few of them, set it in the sugar, and then I will put them on the cookie sheet. Now these typically are good for about 2 to 3 days, and that would be it. Again, a lot of stuff that's freshly made does not last as long. So you're just going to roll it in sugar, lightly coat it like that, and then set it on your cookie sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that and then get these done. Okay, so I have most of them rolled and ready to go. Just have a few more in here that need to be rolled in sugar, and then I will divide it amongst the 2 cookie sheets, and then we will count. Obviously, depending on what size you roll them will determine how many cookies you get. I am making them just a touch smaller because we're doing the blossoms, but you can make them bigger if you want to. Now make sure when you're baking your cookies that you don't overcrowd the cookie sheet, because you want the air to be able to circulate in the oven around the cookies so they'll bake evenly. Now, if you don't have Hershey Kisses or don't want to put the chocolate on there, you don't have to. I'm going to mark a couple, just like my grandmother did with a fork. Just do a little crisscross pattern on them. And these are going to be the ones that obviously won't have the chocolate for our daughter that doesn't eat dairy. So but we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6, 8, 30, 31. Odd number, but we have 31. So I'm going to go ahead and give her 6 cookies, and then the rest we'll go ahead and pop these in the oven and bake them, and then once they come out we'll put the chocolate on top. Okay, I've got the timer set for 10 minutes. I'm going to watch it about the 8-minute mark and see how they're doing. I'm going to go ahead and get all of the Hershey Kisses unwrapped, so then that way we can top them as soon as they come out. So we need like 25, so let me count them out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hopefully I got that right. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Looks like hopefully I counted right. If not, I'll grab an extra one if I need it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these unwrapped and get them ready. Now, am I the only one that loves Hershey Kisses, not only for the candy, but because the wrappers change every year? My husband laughs at me, but I buy them for every holiday just because the wrapper changes, and I just love the wrappers. I don't know why, but they're just something that's fun for me to have around the house, to have on my desk or whatever. So okay, all done. So now we just wait for those cookies to cook, and while we're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and just get some of this one out of the way, and we're gonna go ahead and start prepping the other dessert until the cookies are ready. Okay, the cookies are done, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the Hershey Kisses on the ones that are gonna have them, and then we will set these aside to cool, and they will be ready for tonight. So I did let them cook for the 10 minutes, and that was just the right amount of time. It's at your oven's at 350 degrees. Again, I will link the original recipe below so you guys can see it. And as you can see, with no flour, they held up. They didn't fall apart, they didn't spread out, they didn't like just not resemble a cookie. There's something about these that are just really quite amazing that they are gluten-free. So we're gonna go ahead and get these cooled and work on the second. So for my second dessert, I am gonna be making stuffed strawberries. Strawberries are now in season, at least here in Florida, because we're getting all the local strawberries, and so they smell amazing. They have been wonderful. We buy an abundance of strawberries when they are in season. Again, because they're being shipped local, they are super fresh and so sweet. And so as soon as fresh strawberries that are in season start hitting the stores, highly recommend them. This is a quick and easy dessert to do. I am just placing my strawberries on my cookie sheet. I'm going to do as many as I have filling for, and then that'll be it. This is just to give a little bit of a like fresh dessert element to all the food. And so I've got my tray set up, and so I'm going to go ahead and set them aside, and then we're going to make the filling, and then we'll fill them, and I'll show you how to do all that. But I've got my tray full of strawberries, so I'm just going to set these aside, and we'll move on to there's a little bit better shot. Oh, probably be helpful if I turned this way so you guys could see them, even though they're rolling all over the place. There is a better shot of my strawberries, and again, they smell amazing. For anybody wondering how to pick out really good strawberries, you want to do it by smell. So usually when they start to come in, I will pick out a package. I want to make sure that they're nice and red in color, but I will also kind of squeeze it a little bit, the package, not the strawberries, and smell. And if they have that wonderful sweet strawberry smell, then I know that they are good. If you don't smell anything, then they're likely not ripe, and they likely do not have good flavor. But this is why it's crucial to buy in-season produce, because it's always at its best when you purchase it that way. So, okay, for the filling, it is going to be, basically it's just sweetened cream cheese. When making a cream cheese icing, you're going to add butter. For this, we're going to skip the butter, just do cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla. So it's a really easy process. So I've got one block of cream cheese that's been sitting at room temperature this morning, so that way it would be ready to go. I'm going to start with just a heaping quarter cup of powdered sugar, and then see if I need to add more. I usually just do this by taste. I don't want it super sweet, because if the strawberries are sweet, it can be overwhelming. Now you will want to use a hand mixer or a stand mixer for this part if you have one. Definitely makes it a touch easier. And then I'm just going to do maybe about half a cupful, so about a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract in there. Alright, so I'm going to grab a spoon to taste this. Almost, not quite. I'm going to add basically another 1/8 of a cup to the cream cheese. Let's try it now. Okay, just enough. Because again, I want it to have some sweetness, but not too sweet. Just again, now if your strawberries aren't sweet, you could obviously add more, and that will help add sweetness to the strawberry. So that is a possibility as well, because that's really loud, sorry. Some strawberries aren't sweet. Sadly, it's just the way it goes, especially if you're buying it off season. We're very blessed to be in Florida, where the strawberries are right here, and so they're, again, the shipping time is shorter and they are really fresh. So this is my filling. It's super soft. Now usually I will pipe this in. You can, if you've got a piping bag and a tip, you can pipe it in. If not, you can spoon it in as well. But let me grab the strawberries and I'll show you what I'm doing. What I have got is, let me slide you guys back, a melon baller. And this is what I'm going to use to take out the front part of the strawberry. You just want to find the flattest part, whichever one, so it'll lay flat. You don't have to trim anything off the back. You just want to take the melon baller and take a portion of it out like that. Now I'll just set the strawberries in this bowl right here, because we will obviously not let that part go to waste. This doesn't have to be, now this one's really big, so I may scoop out 2 of them just to, or make it just a touch bigger like that. But regular ones, there's the hole. That's all they need to be. Okay, so for now, this is what we have. And depending on how far that stretches, I can do more because I have lots of fresh strawberries in the house, but there you go. So I'm going to show you two methods to filling the strawberries. I'm just going to do one. I'm going to take one strawberry, and I just got a small little spoon. It doesn't look small, sorry. It's a tiny little spoon right there. And you can just take it, and you could spoon it in and fill it in like this, okay? That's normally not how I do it. I like to do it with a pastry tip, and then I'll show you the reason why. Like, you can fill it, and you just use your finger, throw a little bit in there, like that, and it would be totally fine. But if you pipe it in there, it can just look a touch fancier if you want, if that's what you want. And so I'm gonna go ahead, we'll just leave that one there. Now I have a piping bag. I like to have these plastic ones on hand. I do have fabric ones, but I usually, for stuff like this, will just do the plastic because it's easier to clean out. So I do have a larger tip. I don't have, this is a 1M tip. Now you can do something smaller as well. It just has the star tip on it. I just cut enough of the bag to know how much it's going to feed into and not come through the end of the bag. So you can just cut off a little bit at a time until you get to the right one. Now, when using a bag, I will fold it over. So I will, and it's a little bit harder to see, but I have my bag, I have my hand, and I have my hand like this. Usually what I'll do is I'll start by folding it over like this, and then I'm gonna make just this, like almost like a C shape, C shape with my hand, the letter C. And I'm going to pull the bag over, and see how I'm holding my hand and I've got it around the bag. This is so I have control over what I'm putting in there. So I'm going to take the cream cheese out of here, take it and put it in, and see, this way I can use the spatula against my thumb right here to get all of the sweetened cream cheese into the bag. Hopefully you guys can see that. I do have another video for Valentine's Day from last year that I talked about how to fill a piping bag as well. I can link that below so you can check it out if you couldn't see. But again, this is just, it's an easy way to hold a bag and then fill it, and that way you can pull the edge back up that was folded over and squeeze everything down into the end of the tip. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these back over. I'm going to go ahead and get them filled, but I will show you one. As you can see, again, there's the hole. By using a tip, you can pipe it in there and just do a little something like that. And then it just makes it look, give you a side-by-side. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It just depends on what you want to do, but tip does give you a little bit better look. You can also use a straight tip and not a star tip as well. And if they do tip over a little bit, it'll be okay. Sometimes that just happens. Now you can leave these plain like this. If you had some toasted pecans extra, like we're going to be using for the cheese ball, you could sprinkle some of that on there. Obviously not once it's mixed with the cheese and the green onion, but on its own you could, or you can just leave them as is. I typically just leave them as is, because I like it better. Now for the one we spooned in, I'm just gonna do a little star swirl on it, and that helps it look the same as everything else. So I have enough, so I am going to do a few more. Okay, I think another 4 is enough because I've got this big bowl of strawberry centers that we will eat. So I will just take what's left in this bag. And here's what I have in my bowl. And then I'm just going to put it in there like that, and then we can snack on that. I've already tried one off camera. I had one that was just a little funky on the side, so I dipped it in at just the right amount of sugar to cream cheese ratio, because again, it's sweet but not too sweet. You know, it just is just enough, because again, those strawberries are perfect with them being in season. So here are the strawberries. This is what they look like. I am going to get these covered and put these in the fridge, because then I will put them on their serving tray tonight before our guests arrive. So actually I decided, instead of covering this with plastic wrap, I'm just going to go ahead, plastic wrap. I'm going to go ahead and put them into this container right here, because then I can just put a lid on it, stick it in the fridge, and then it just fits better. So I don't have so much, because again, we're doing a lot of prep for right now, so then that way we can pull it all together this evening, because we've got things that'll have to go into the oven and things that are going to have to be deep fried. So come tonight, I'm going to be busy. Okay, sorry, phone had rang, I had to answer it, so I might have gone silent. We'll see how I edit that out. But these are the strawberries, and they're all set. Just into the container they go. Into the fridge they will stay, and then that will make it set up a little bit easier, because they're going to be in here. So let's move on to the next thing that we have to do. And one of the dishes that I will be making for tonight is going to be a spicy corn, or spicy southern hot corn is the name of the recipe, and again, I will link it below. It is supposed to be a dish that gets warmed up in the oven, so I'm going to go ahead and prep everything now, and then that way, and this was just washed out, so I'm just drying it, it'll be set and ready. I can just pull the container out and get ready to go. So to the recipe, it needs 3.5 cups of corn. So we're going to check and see about this big 2-pound bag of frozen corn. Obviously fresh would be ideal, but corn is not currently in season, so we'll go with frozen, which it does say in the recipe you can use frozen. You just want to let it thaw. So I've been leaving it sit out for most of the morning. It's still actually a little frozen, but it's not as bad as it was. But we're going to go ahead and just put it together, because it'll finish thawing in the fridge, and that'll be perfectly fine. And then, so that is 3.5 cups of frozen corn. So 2-pound bag is more than enough, and it looks like there's probably just another 2 cups left in this bag. So we will just use this one night as a side dish for one of our dinners. Now to this, I've got everything else chopped up and ready, so I'm gonna grab that real quick. Okay, so in this bowl I have it originally calls for 2 fresh jalapenos, but the jalapeno is really large, and you should see that now. I'm going to try to put that video in of me chopping it up. So I just did 1. And then I've also got 4, it says 3 to 4 tablespoons of pickled jalapenos. I opted to just do 4 pickled jalapenos to make sure it's not too spicy for everyone. And so if needed, we can always just top it with more pickled jalapenos. But there's also a red pepper in here. So it's a 1/2 cup of red pepper. Again, the original recipe calls for 2 jalapenos. We just did 1 large one because it was quite large. It was the size of 2 average ones. So then we're gonna go ahead and you could saute up the veggies. I'm gonna not do that, just to allow them. Oh, I am doing this wrong. Oh no, I'm not doing this wrong. I'm sorry, I'm doing this right. Sorry, this is my first time actually making this recipe, so bear with me, as I was thinking I was doing it wrong. We have everything in the bowl, so we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to go to the stove top, and we're going to mix in a few other ingredients to warm up. Saucepan, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. We're going to add, the recipe calls for 2.5 tablespoons of butter. I've got 3, so I'm just going to use 3 because, well, I don't have a need for the other tablespoon right now. I'm sure I would use it, but I don't need it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let the butter start to melt just a touch. I've got it on probably medium low because obviously I don't want to scorch it. And so I'm going to go ahead and let that melt just a touch. And then I'm going to add in the cream cheese. And we're going to let this melt together. Once this has melted together, we're going to go ahead and pour it onto the corn. We'll go ahead and get this done, and then we will move on to the next step. Now, I have never made this recipe before. It just sounds really good, and it reminds me of a dish that I had at one of our Christmas functions at a church we were members of several years ago, and somebody made this spicy corn dip, and I had never had anything like that before. I thought it was really good, and so this reminds me of that, which is why I wanted to do it for our evening tonight. So, and this is also vegetarian, and so again, with our friend being a vegetarian, she has no problem with us having meat products there. Or don't splatter it everywhere like I just did. But I do like to make sure that there is always something that she can have and enjoy. And plus, there's also nothing wrong with having a few vegetarian dishes to enjoy. Plus, we're trying to keep this basically like the Super Bowl video, cost friendly as well, using as much of what we have in the house without having to spend a bunch of money to put something together. We all know grocery prices have gotten a bit much, and so you don't want to break the bank, and this is a good dish because it's not very costly to put together, especially just being able to use frozen corn. So I've got my whisk. I'm going to go ahead. You want to be super duper careful with warming this up. It does look like it's starting to curdle. It's not actually curdling, it's just how it's breaking down. But you do want to whisk it all together carefully to try to get that butter to be absorbed into the cream cheese. Oh, and this is 4 ounces of cream cheese. Again, I will link all the recipes below so you can see the exact measurement. So in case I just don't say what it is, it will be below in the description box. Now, I did add a touch more butter than originally it calls for. So I'm just going to give it a good whisk until it's incorporated all together. I'm not too worried about that extra half a tablespoon, just because by the time we toss this in with everything else, it will evenly spread out. Okay, so I'm going to turn the heat off because it has come together now. And so now we're going to move it over to where the corn is and go ahead and get it all added together. Okay, so I've got my bowl with my corn and peppers. I'm going to go ahead and add in the cream cheese and butter mixture. Now, again, the recipe just has you going right from assembling all of it to putting it in the oven right away. We obviously are not going to do that, so what I will be doing is allowing this to cool and then sticking it in the fridge. Now, the recipe calls for 1 cup of cheddar cheese and wants you to do 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup, which I think is about 3/4 of a cup right there. The rest is to be used to sprinkle on top. I don't know that feels like that's going to be enough, but we'll just wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and give this a stir just while the cream cheese mixture is warm. We do have some seasonings we need to add to it, but let's just get this together first. It does smell really good already, so alright, so let me grab my seasonings. Okay, so it does say to add in 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and then just salt and pepper to taste. Now, reading the recipe, she does, I'm just going to do a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. She does taste this to see they like it spicy. I want to try it. If it has 0 heat to it, I will go ahead and add in some more pickled jalapenos or even maybe add in a little bit of hot sauce to it to see. But let's just get this stirred up really well. I feel like chipotle would be really, really good in here as well, but I want to try it first before I make that decision. It definitely needs more salt, so I'm going to add a little bit larger pinch, a little bit more pepper. I don't actually think it necessarily needs heat. It's not spicy by any stretch of the imagination. She is right. This is a very mild spicy dish, but what I don't want to do is make it where everything we have is spicy, because the chicken tacos have chipotle in them, and they're going to be served with a sour cream and chipotle dip. And then we're going to also we have wing sauce that is spicy as well. So I don't want to make everything spicy. This will be actually a really nice, light, flavorful element to it. So I think we are done. I'm going to go get a container to put this in and to have it ready so I can put it in the oven tonight. The dish I grabbed is just an 8x8 that I'm using to cook the corn dip in. And so this was the perfect size. This was a big hit. This was one of the favorite things of the night. I want to say everything was a favorite because we just all enjoyed all the food, but because this was a new dish, this really was a favorite. This went back several times, and in fact, my husband went back and topped it with the wing sauce, and then that just spiraled everybody into having the tortilla chip with the corn dip and then putting the wing sauce on it as well. So they really enjoyed it. Now I did discover that putting just that quarter cup that was left of the cheese dip, I'm sorry, not cheese dip, the cheese was enough to top the corn. You didn't really need a whole lot of it. You could put more on there, but I honestly didn't find that it was necessary. And again, it was just the perfect blend of flavors, and it really didn't need additional heat, but you absolutely could add more if you wanted to. And if you don't have a lot of spicy foods, then I would absolutely add some more heat to it. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead before we dive into the crispy chicken tacos. Let's go ahead and get the cheese ball rolled, so that part is done. All right, so into the bowl we've put the cheddar cheese, the chopped up green onions, and the pecans. So we're just going to go ahead and mix all that together. And this is just going to be for rolling, so for the outer part of the cheese ball. And remember, if it's supposed to have bacon as well, and this is where you would also have bacon on the outside of the roll, but again, leaving it off so it is vegetarian friendly. So this is our cheese ball that we made yesterday afternoon, and it's just been sitting in the fridge wrapped up all nice and tight. So we'll toss that one out because we'll rewrap it. I'm going to try to see if we can't get it rolled in this little bowl. I was thinking it would be a touch bigger than what it really is, but we'll see what happens. So I would just say roll and press. Now it does say to put the cheddar cheese on the outside, although I would almost do it even finer maybe, but it seems to be working. Just press in as much as we can. And that is it. It is completely covered. You can check underneath and see if it needs a little bit more. It looks like you're going to have more than you need. Than what the recipe calls for. I have actually quite a bit left over. What I will do is I'll just stick this in a bag, and then we'll see as this stays wrapped up if it needs anything else. It's not going to necessarily be absorbed into that cheese ball, but it is quite a bit more than what you really need. So, all right, let's got new plastic wrap right here, so we're going to go ahead and just, I don't want to use that same one because it was all full of cheese. So we're just going to wrap this one up. And then now this is ready for tonight, and all I'll have to do is to put it on a platter and then put crackers around it, and it'll be set and ready to go. Okay, so we're going to start. So they're going to be crispy chicken tacos, but because our friend is vegetarian, I'm actually going to make some veggie tacos. So this first part is going to be just a touch different, but I want to go ahead and get hers knocked out first. What I did earlier is I chopped up some onion, some of that red pepper I still had left over from the corn dip, and then I had a green pepper in the freezer. You can use whatever veggies you want. This I know will be good for her, just because I've done something similar in the past when we've done Mexican dishes. So these, I will link the recipe below. You will see a more accurate recipe once I put together the chicken tacos. So I'm at about half the spices for hers, just because I really feel like it's will be too much if I do the full recipe, because again, this is meant for chicken to go in here, and that would help absorb some of those seasonings. So put in a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of garlic. I'm gonna add in just a quarter teaspoon, I'm gonna eyeball it here, of chipotle, and then I'm going to toss in some salsa. Now again, once I show you the get it open, there we go, regular chicken one, you'll see the difference. We're just gonna do maybe 1/8 of a cup, maybe 1/4 of a cup of salsa. Now she will get cheese in this as well, and then it will, yeah, I think that's gonna work great, because there it is. And so this is gonna be her cheese. I am going to go ahead and just do it separately, just like I do with the chicken, and I will show you guys set up. So this is pretty much done. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the chicken one set up as well. Okay, so I've got the chicken. This is the Salsa Verde chicken that we did, there we go, last night. So all I need is 2.5 cups of shredded chicken. Now, you don't have to do your own chicken. You can purchase shredded chicken. I know I've seen it at Aldi's. You guys can't see it. I prefer to do it this way, just because I also will take this chicken and we will use it in a variety of meals. It has a nice mild flavor, so you can just make it into wraps. You can, let's say 2.5 cups. We're going to go just above the 2-cup mark, and that should give us about 2.5 cups, like about that. So you can use this chicken for wraps. We will warm it up and add different sauces to it, like buffalo, barbecue. You can do a variety of things with it, so that's why I like to make the big batch. So we're going to put the chicken in there. And then it's going to be 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked, it's okay. Just use what you have on hand. It'll be fine. I'm actually getting low. I'm going to have to look and see if I have more in our pantry. All right, but for there, we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of the chipotle. You can do less if you don't want it too spicy, but I feel like it did really well. And then it's going to be a half a cup of salsa. So I will measure this out. For the vegetable one, I eyeballed it, but for this, I will measure. We're just going to stir this together. Now, if you wanted to, you could add the cheese, but the way the recipe calls is we're going to put the cheese on top of the chicken once it's in the tortilla. But it's really up to you. I just follow the recipe, but you could do it if you want to just save yourself an extra step. And I always feel like I wind up getting more tacos than the recipe actually says you'll get. Now, maybe it's because I am eyeballing the chicken. Either way, I don't think it's a bad thing to get extra tacos. Tacos, sorry. And what I like to do when stirring it all together is I just like to take the spoon and just kind of break down the chicken even further. It makes it easier for spreading into the taco. Okay, so I have my cookie sheet. I've got 2 paper towels. I've got them slightly damp. I've got corn tortillas. We're gonna warm them up in batches because it will help it make, when you go to make the tacos, the corn tortillas will be a little bit more pliable. They'll just bend easier. Now they probably still will tear, but it's just the way that it goes. So I've got 2, 4, let's see, 6, 8 of them. So I'm just going to put them in the center and just kind of fold it over, and we're going to microwave them for about 30 seconds. Okay, so one thing you'll need to have is oil of some sort. I'm going to use avocado oil. You can use olive oil, vegetable oil. You can even use butter. Obviously, I will avoid butter because of our daughter, for hers, but I'm just going to use avocado oil, and then I have a pastry brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tortillas I've warmed up, lay them down, and I'm just going to we're going to try to make 8 vegetarian ones. It's more than enough, but then we'll be obviously sending them home with extras. So right now I can fit 6 here. So I'm just going to take a pastry brush and brush avocado oil on it. This is going to help the tacos crisp up in the oven. Now again, I usually just make these and pop them right in. I have not made them besides freezing them, and hopefully that turns out for our son and daughter-in-law because I've not frozen them either. Just flip them like this. Then what we're going to do is take these tongs, and I'm just going to take the vegetable mixture and put it right there, about half onto just 1/2, I should say, on the corn tortilla. Let's see how many. If I get a bit more than 8, that's totally fine. I have 30 tortillas to work with for tonight, which is going to be more than enough. I always tend to make more food that we need, but sometimes we wind up eating more than we think we're going to as well. And then anything left I like to share. So it looks like we're going to be able to get 8 tacos based on what's left in the bowl. So that was perfect. And then we're going to just take her cheese. I wasn't exactly sure how much I needed just for tacos because I wasn't sure how many we would have. So I just kept it separate. There's nothing different. This is just Monterey Jack cheese is what I'll go on the chicken tacos as well. So I'm going to go ahead and you just put a tablespoon or 2. I eyeball it. When people put that in recipes, I don't ever measure it. I just eyeball it. It might be more than needed, but it'll be okay. Now once the cheese is on there, just going to take the corn tortilla and fold it over, and then I do press it with my hands, and then I'll just slide it down on the tray. If cheese falls out, I'll just tuck it in. A lot of times when these bake, the cheese will start to ooze out. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I don't know if you can see, but it did slit a little bit. I'm not worried about that. It'll be just fine. It'll hold together. Just a touch more cheese on that one. Just press it down. Now, if they don't want to stay down, you can put toothpicks in there, but what we're going to do is actually, just for storage purposes, for refrigeration space, we're going to layer this and stack all the tacos on top of each other, and then when I go to bake them, then I will spread them out on different sheets. But for now, we have limited space in the fridge, even though we have an extra garage fridge for stuff like this. So fold and press and again, just set it aside. If they crack, don't worry. If they start to curl up, you can stick a toothpick inside of it. So we're going to repeat for the last two. I finish with the vegetarian tacos, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process but make the chicken. You're going to oil the tortillas, flip them over, top them with chicken and cheese, and fold over and repeat until you make as many tacos as you need. I also go ahead and top this with damp paper towels and then cover it in plastic wrap, and that helps keep them from drying out, and these baked beautifully in the oven even though they were made ahead of time. So it's definitely a win-win for prep and for serving time. Now that the tacos are done, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the homemade tortilla chips. I usually like to do these when I'm making homemade guacamole, but I thought it'd be a nice little treat for our friends if I made them for the corn dip. So you're just going to take corn tortillas, not flour, cut them in quarters, and then set them aside. I've got my oil warming up and ready to make the chips, and so once that oil is ready, we're going to go ahead and start frying. What I do like to do is keep them stored in a bag until I fry them so they don't dry out. I also like to take a big bowl and start lining it with paper towels as well, because that paper towel will help catch the oil from the chips. Okay, the oil is ready. It's hit 350 degrees, and so now I'm going to start frying my chips. Now, I know the color looks off, and I do apologize. It is the lighting above our stove. We really need to replace it. Even with my ring light, it still makes it look really funny. But either way, you're only going to fry these for just a minute or two on each side. You want to make sure that they're crispy, but you want to watch it because it doesn't take very long to fry these up. Now, as soon as they come out, you want to go ahead and salt them. And what I like to do is every time I fry chips, I will layer a piece of paper towel in between each fry batch, just because that helps catch the oil. But again, don't forget to salt them if you can have salt. If not, just leave them off. But these were a great addition to the corn dip we had, and everybody loves them. Actually, we're still snacking on them a day later. Chips are done, and now I'm going to go ahead and line my serving bowl with just one single paper towel that's clean. You can see all the oil that the others picked up, and now I'm just going to go ahead and get them all into the bowl. I did have a few chips that I did accidentally burn. I stepped away for just a moment just to get a drink on the counter and turn my back around, and I had burned them. So going to get these covered up and ready to go for our company to arrive. Now it's time to move on to the chicken wings. Now, what I like to do is a two-step process where I cook them in the oven first at 400 degrees for 45 minutes. And then I will pull them out, and then I will deep fry them. And what that will do is make the skin extra crispy, because if you put them in a deep fryer while they're raw, they will absorb so much oil. They'll become really heavy and greasy and a bit too much. So once I've got them on my pan, I go ahead and top them with some additional oil and seasoning. I like to use a Nashville hot seasoning, but you can use Cajun. You can just use salt and pepper too, because again, these are going to get covered in a sauce the way that we do them. So I just like to toss everything on the sheet pan. But again, I've already got my oven warmed up to 400 degrees. And like I said, it will be 400 degrees for 45 minutes. You are not trying to make these crispy in the oven. You just want them to cook through, and they will do that in 45 minutes. So now that they are tossed and ready, I'm going to go ahead and get them into the oven. Okay, so the chicken wings are out of the oven. This is 45 minutes at 400 degrees. And as you can see, they're not quite crispy, but they are cooked all the way through. So I don't want them to be crispy yet. This is what the fryer is for. So this is perfect. 45 minutes. And again, these are thawed. If you do this and they're still a little frozen, it may take you about an hour. You'll just have to check it and see. So all I'm doing now is just going to put the wings on this plate to catch any additional oil or moisture that is on the chicken wing, and then I'm just going to set these aside, and then in just probably about 30 minutes or so, I'm going to start frying the wings, and then we'll be frying the yuca fries as well while we finish the corn dip and the chicken tacos in the oven. So I'm going to get all this put up, get this pan clean, because what I like to do too when I fry is I'll put a cooling rack on top of this pan, and then that allows everything that I fry to stay crispy because it's not sitting on top of a paper towel. A lot of times if you put things, when you fry them onto a paper towel, they won't hold their crispiness. They'll get soft again because the moisture is right there. So I'm gonna get this pan cleaned out because I'll need my other ones for the chicken tacos, and then we will be set. We are on the countdown now to our friends arriving, and so this is the last little push to get all the food ready for tonight. So see you guys in a little bit when we start frying these up. Okay, we are winding down on an hour left before our company comes, and it's time for me to get the chicken tacos into the oven. I am just separating them based on which ones are dairy-free, which ones are vegetarian, and which ones are the regular chicken tacos. These are going to cook at 425 degrees for 16 minutes. You will want to flip them after 8 minutes, and if need be, just leave them in there just a touch longer until they get crispy, but these turned out really, really good. These are definitely one to keep a recipe for because they are really good. It's a quick and easy meal. Now I am just keeping the paper towels over them while I get the rest of them set up, and then we're going to go ahead and get them in the oven because again, this was down to the wire an hour before our company was coming, and I wanted to make sure that I had everything ready for the time that they arrived so we could start enjoying all the food. Okay, the chicken tacos have now been set aside, and I'm going to go ahead and get my tray full of the condiments that we are going to be using for this dinner. The first one is homemade ranch dressing, and that obviously will go with the chicken wings. I'm going to follow that up with a Huancaina sauce, which is going to be for the yuca fries, and then after that, it's going to be sour cream topped with chipotle salsa. I find like that's a really good mixture for the chicken tacos. But I also went ahead and just did the fourth container as just plain sour cream in case anyone didn't want that chipotle salsa on top, because some people don't. But it is a favorite of mine, so I always like to have it out there. So now that I've got the condiments ready to go, we can move on to the next thing. Deep fryer's ready. We're going to start with the chicken wings first because there's quite a few of them. We'll knock those out and then do the yuca fries, and then all we'll have to do at that point is set everything up. Now when it comes to the wings, I am going to let everybody sauce it how they want. I have two sauces. I've got my version of 3 Mile Island from Taco Mac. I don't know what the recipe is. Again, I just like to create things to get us as close to the things that we enjoy because we don't have a Taco Mac here in Florida. So, and then the other one is my version of honey twang. I know that this is in last year's Super Bowl recipe, so again, I will make sure to link that down below so you can check that out on how to make this. But this is their honey twang, and again, I don't know the recipe. I just created it as close as I could get to what they had. They no longer have this on the menu, but it is one of my favorites. It's just basically a tangy honey mustard with barbecue with a little kick to it, so it's really, really good. So we are going to put these in bowls and let people help themselves to it, and they can toss their wings how they want. Use whatever sauce you want, whatever flavor combo you want. That's just what we like. Those are the family favorites right there, and so that's just kind of what we stick with. So we're going to let that stuff count down and finish cooking and get moving on to the rest of the food because our company will be here in about 40 minutes. So okay, so the corn dip is done. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to keep it in the oven, keep it warm, and get going with the chicken wings. Okay, my oil is ready, and as you can see, I've been frying the chicken wings. I like the temperature to be at 350 degrees, and I will fry them for 3 to 4 minutes until they get nice and golden crispy for exactly what I'm looking for. It's really up to you on how crispy you want them. We just prefer a really crispy chicken wing. We don't like to chew on soft skin on a chicken wing, which is why I do this two-step process for making my chicken wings. I'm so used to it now. It's like no big deal. It's just so easy to pop them in the oven for 45 minutes and then throw them in the deep fryer after. It's just so part of the routine that I would never go back to baking them in the oven again unless I had no other option. Okay, so as I finish up the chicken wings and get those in the oven to keep them warm, I'm going to go ahead and fry my yuca fries. They are the same temperature as the chicken wings, just at 350 degrees. Once you fry them, you want to make sure that you put salt on them as soon as they come out of the deep fryer. Again, this is just like making a French fry. You just want to make sure they're salted while the grease is still on there so the salt will stick to the yuca fry. And again, these are wonderful. There were so many crispy pieces on there. You will see them in just a few minutes on how they turned out. But these are, again, really, really good. And I would highly recommend that anyone makes them that is willing to give them a try, because they really are, in our opinion, better than an actual French fry. Okay, now that everything has been fried up and is in the oven staying warm till our friends arrive, I'm going to go ahead and get the cheese ball platter set up. You can choose to use any kind of crackers that you like. I just decided to go with Ritz, Club, and Nut Thins just because those are some of our favorite. You can just do one cracker style and that's it. You don't have to do multiple different types. It's really up to you and whatever you have on hand and whatever you enjoy eating. So once this was done, I set it aside with some of the other food, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull out the chicken tacos because they are now done. Now these are the vegetarian tacos. I will recommend using a spatula to flip them halfway through the cooking time, because I tried to tongs and those two tacos right there actually tore, but it was perfectly fine. She ate them, it didn't matter. She took the leftovers home, so it really is not a big deal. Those are the chicken tacos that I'm going to go ahead and get on the platter. Now, you won't see the dairy-free ones I made for my daughter just because I left them on her cooking tray so she could come get them when she was ready to eat. But the chicken and the vegetarian shared the same platter, and there they are. Now, for the yuca fries, they're just going to go on their separate platter. You can serve these however you like. Our one daughter who cannot eat dairy eats them with ketchup. And then another one just eats them plain. And of course, we use it with the Huancaina sauce, which is our favorite way of doing them. But these were super crispy, but yet tender on the inside. They were very good. And now the chicken wings are coming out, and I left them unsauced because everyone could sauce their own what sauce they wanted. As you saw earlier, I had two available for everybody, the 3 Mile Island and the honey twang. And so I'm all about the honey twang, and the other three were all about the 3 Mile Island, which is totally fine. Everybody have what they want and enjoy it. So this is going to be what our setup looked like when it was time to eat, and everything was thoroughly enjoyed. So I just want to thank you guys for sticking with me for 2 very long videos to show you guys some great ideas for Super Bowl food. Now keep in mind, doing your own prep and making this food, you could do it all in one day. It doesn't necessarily have to take 2 days. I just know myself and how I work in the kitchen and everything else I have going on. This is what worked best for my schedule. So hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the video, and thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so.